It's a new beginning.
Call 888-LAW-9600 for your free consultation.
The Situation Room brings you an exclusive investigation on bad behavior inside the FBI.
Welcome to our new half-hour talk show, Talk Back. Hot topics, great guests, your comments on tap. We're asking who's to blame for forced spending cuts in Washington. And are gay rights the same as civil rights? But first, we must talk about what's going on in Las Vegas right now. I just talked to the Las Vegas Police Department, and it's unbelievable. Discussing things with us today, Maria Cardona, CNN contributor and Democratic strategist, Roland Martin, our CNN political analyst, Rich Galen, a Republican strategist, and Amy Kremer, Tea Party Express chairwoman. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Before we begin our discussion, I'd like to talk a little bit more about what's happening in Las Vegas right now. Las Vegas Boulevard remains closed down because of a rolling shootout earlier this morning. It all started around 4:20 a.m. Las Vegas time. Apparently, some men in a black Range Rover sport vehicle began shooting at a Maserati. This apparently started in front of a casino, and then both cars proceeded to drive down Las Vegas Boulevard. The people in the black Range Rover shooting into the Maserati. Now, other cars were involved in this mess, and we understand that the driver of the Maserati has been killed. During the course of this rolling shootout, somebody ran into a taxi. That taxi exploded into flames. 2 people were killed, the taxi driver and the passenger in that car. So Las Vegas police have confirmed that 3 people are dead. The men responsible for the shooting in this black Range Rover are still at large. They escaped, so police are asking for your help in finding this vehicle. Let's listen to KLAS, our affiliate out in Las Vegas, the chopper reporter, because he describes what went down extremely well.
Just unbelievable here as we continue to kind of piece together exactly what happened. And obviously, Metro Police, they're continuing to try to kind of piece things together themselves. But once again, our live pictures here from Chopper 8 showing you the horrific nature, the fiery end to this horrible accident involving a Maserati and another unnamed vehicle that was actually shooting at the Maserati, an exchange of gunfire. Once again, as we were mentioning, the passenger of that Maserati was shot and killed right before the car actually crashed. There's the Maserati right here on northbound Las Vegas Boulevard, just slightly north of Flamingo. There's the taxi cab that caught fire, literally exploded upon impact, killing 2 people inside that vehicle. And then we have numerous other cars involved. We got 2 more in the middle of the intersection, and then a pickup truck actually just outside the shot. I'm going to pull out real quick here and show you the closure parameter here over at Interstate 15. This is going to be I-15, and that's where traffic is just starting to back up as everybody has to be diverted onto literally the northbound I-15, whether you like it or not. This is going to be your detour, northbound I-15. Use Harmon, use Tropicana, use Spring Mountain, or the DI Super Arterial to avoid this area, as it'll be shut down probably at least till about noon today, if not later. Guys?
Yeah, he's right about that, because Las Vegas Boulevard still closed today. And I just want to talk about this because, you know, we see this kind of thing go down in Hollywood movies. And this is real life. This is what really happens. People actually die in these kinds of incidents. You know, when people shoot guns out of cars and cars explode, people die. And it happened in such a popular area, because I'm sure all of you have been to Bally's or the Bellagio, and that's where this terrible thing ended. So I guess I just want to get your thoughts on this more evidence of gun violence in our nation, Roland.
Well, this speaks to exactly what I've always said with this ridiculous debate we're having. It's one-dimensional. And so what we're dealing with now are, folks, you have anger issues, you have, folks, a conflict resolution. And so whether or not you're talking about on the Strip in Las Vegas, or you're talking about in New Orleans, in Chicago, stand your ground, what's happening in Florida, the guy at the gas station, music is too loud. We have an epidemic in this country of Americans who choose to resolve conflicts with a gun. That, to me, is a fundamental problem we have, and passing a law is not going to solve that.
Well, Rich, Vice President Joe Biden's in Connecticut right now. He's talking about gun control measures that the president wants to put into place. At the same time, the NRA has bought a number of ads in newspapers across the country attacking Democratic lawmakers who support gun control measures. It seems like we're all talking around the problem, and yet real life just keeps on happening.
Well, I agree with what Roland said. I'm not. We have no idea what happened in this case. So I mean, we can't make much reference. If these guys didn't have guns, who knows what the precipitate cause was? And they might have run them into a light stand. Who knows what would have happened if they didn't have guns? But I think it is important to note that while almost all of the gun violence happens with handguns, the conversation seems to be centered largely around long guns, especially semi-automatic weapons, and that's rarely the case. It happens now and again, obviously, and it did in Connecticut.
Well,
but in these kinds of incidents, it's almost always a handgun.
I do think we're having a surface discussion about guns in the country. There's no depth to it, so I do agree with you. We're not getting at the underlying problem. Maria?
Yeah, I completely agree. Look, we have to look at this in a much more comprehensive and holistic manner. And I agree with Roland. We have to look at how we as a society are dealing with conflict resolution. But I also believe that part of that conflict resolution is ingrained in so many Americans' brains that they can do this with guns. And the reason they believe they can do this with guns is because so many people who should not have access to guns have access to guns. People who are crazy, people who are mentally imbalanced, people who are just evil and criminal. And I do think that while the proposals that are in Congress right now in terms of background checks or even the assault weapons ban is not going to solve everything. It can start to get to one part of the problem, which is trying to make sure that these guns are kept out of the hands of people who should not have them. And I think the more this happens, the more this kind of discussion is going to take place, and the more we have to deal with the reality.
And Amy, I know that the NRA wants to take guns out of the equation, but these crimes are perpetrated with guns. How can you take guns completely out of the equation and say it's about everything else but not guns?
Well, Carol, I think the key word there is crime. These people are criminals that are committing these acts, the majority of them, and criminals are going to get guns no matter what laws you pass. You know, the Newtown shooting happened with him going and stealing guns. Those guns didn't belong to him. But, you know, you can pass all the laws you want, but you look at the violence we see in video games and movies, it's all around us. We do need to have a deeper discussion about it, but passing a law is not going to solve this problem.
Hey, Carol, we also have to expand this. We can't just say, well, here's what happens. This is the false narrative. Well, the people who are doing it, they're criminals. Talk about what happens when you have domestic violence situations. Talk about what happens when somebody bumps into somebody else. All of a sudden, you disrespect me, I pull a gun out. All of these cases are not just about a question of crime. What I'm trying to say is it goes so much deeper to that. It is somehow deeply embedded in the psyche of Americans when it comes to this love affair with guns, why we have to have them, why we need them. And so that's why I've just been so angry with this discussion since Newtown, because it has been so one-dimensional, and folks are unafraid, or for some reason, to connect Newtown with Chicago to Florida, to New Orleans, to other cities, and say, how do we address what is an epidemic in America, not just a law?
And again,
Hey, Roland,
just an update for our viewers about what would be a first step. Hold on, folks. Just an update about what's happened in Las Vegas. A rolling shootout on Las Vegas Boulevard. Police confirm 3 people are dead, and the shooter, who was driving a black Range Rover Sport, is still at large somewhere. But you can see the aftermath of this rolling shootout down Las Vegas Boulevard. That shooter in this black Range Rover Sport shooting into a Maserati. The Maserati driver is dead. There was ensuing traffic accidents. A taxi exploded into flames. The taxi driver and the passenger dead. After a quick break, we'll talk about our next